Being an identical twin is like living with a mirror that has a mind of its own. For 28 years, I shared everything with my sister Madeline, the same face, the same voice, the same silvery blonde hair our grandmother always said marked us as true Blackwoods. But inside, we couldn't have been more different. I'm Emma Blackwood, the twin who chose a quiet life running a small art gallery in Boston. Madeline became a high-powered investment banker in New York, collecting designer labels and wealthy boyfriends like trophies. Our parents were prouder of her, naturally. Who wouldn't prefer a daughter who made millions over one who spent her days hanging paintings? But our grandmother Catherine was different. She saw past the surface, understood who we really were beneath our identical faces. While our parents fawned over Madeline's banking success, Grandma quietly supported my passion for art, helping me open my gallery when no one else would. "You have a gift, Emma," she'd tell me during our Sunday afternoon teas in her Victorian mansion. "You see beauty where others see only dollar signs." Those afternoons were sacred. Madeline never came, always too busy with work. But that suited me fine. It meant I had Grandma Catherine all to myself. Then came the call that changed everything. I was in my gallery, hanging a new collection, when my phone buzzed. My mother's voice was tight with barely controlled grief. "Emma, it's Grandma Catherine. There's been an accident." The world tilted sideways. I gripped the edge of my desk, knocking over a cup of coffee. The dark liquid spread across the pristine white surface like spilled ink. "What happened?" "A car crash. She didn't make it." I don't remember much about the hours that followed. Somehow I made it home, packed a bag, canceled my appointments. My assistant Jennifer promised to handle the gallery. The drive to my grandmother's estate in the Berkshires blurred into tears and memory. Every mile marker another Sunday tea, another quiet conversation, another reminder that Grandma Catherine had been the only person who truly saw me. I arrived to find the sprawling Victorian mansion already crowded with relatives. Cousins I barely knew lounged in the parlor. Aunts whispered in corners. Uncles argued over property values. My parents stood in the foyer greeting people with practiced sadness. But Madeline was nowhere in sight. "She's flying in from Dubai," my mother explained, smoothing her already perfect hair. "Some important client meeting she couldn't reschedule." Of course. Even our grandmother's death wouldn't disrupt Madeline's precious career. The next few days dissolved into funeral arrangements and family politics. I retreated to my grandmother's library whenever I could, surrounding myself with her beloved books and the faint scent of rose perfume that still lingered in the air. That's where I was when Madeline finally arrived, 3 days after the accident. "Oh good, you're here," she said, dropping her Hermes bag on an antique table. "Have they read the will yet?" No hello. No tears. Not even a pretense of grief. "She's barely cold," I said, my voice tight with anger. Madeline rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic, Emma. We all knew this was coming." Grandma was old. She was 68. Details. She waved a hand dismissively. "The point is, there's $40 million at stake, plus the house, the art collection. We need to be practical." I stared at my twin, searching for some trace of the sister I'd grown up with. We still shared a face, but looking at her felt like watching my own features rearranged into a stranger's expression. "The reading is tomorrow," I said finally. "Mr. Harrison, Grandma's lawyer, is handling everything." "Perfect." Madeline's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Get some rest, sis. Tomorrow's going to be interesting." Something in her tone unsettled me, but I pushed the feeling aside. I was too exhausted, too grief-stricken to untangle my sister's cryptic remarks. That was my first mistake. The next morning, I woke early and went to make coffee. The house was quiet, most of the relatives still asleep. But as I passed the study, I heard voices. "Everything's arranged." Madeline's voice, low and urgent. "Just like you asked." A male voice I didn't recognize. "The papers are perfect. No one will question it." I froze, my hand on the doorknob. "And the original?" "Destroyed, along with all the copies. As far as anyone knows, this is the only version." "Good." Madeline again, satisfied. "You should go. The reading's in 3 hours." I stepped back quickly as the door opened. A man in a cheap suit hurried past without noticing me, clutching a briefcase. Madeline emerged a moment later and startled at the sight of me. "Emma. You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," I said carefully. "Who was that?" "Oh, just someone from the bank." She adjusted her silk blouse. "Boring paperwork." But I'd seen the man slip something into her designer bag, something that looked suspiciously like legal documents. Mr. Harrison frowned. The reading was scheduled for 10 a.m. in the main library. "Grandma's real will," Mr. Harrison announced. "A small man with wire-rimmed glasses 2 weeks ago served as our grandmother's lawyer. She gave it to me for safekeeping. Arranged us in a semicircle." The room erupted in whispers. My parents sat together. My heart began to pound. "Aunts and uncles claimed the armchairs," Mr. Harrison muttered, scanning the pages. "Cousins perched on ottomans or leaned against the bookshelves. Myself. Madeline she never mentioned directly across from Mr. Harrison. She changed her mind carefully. Madeline neutral. Said, "I chose to stand by the window. Everything's perfectly beside legal. The painting of Rose's grandma. All Catherine the signatures are verified." Something felt closer. Wrong. The looking over Mr. Harrison's shoulder. Madeline's strange behavior. "The will looked authentic. Same legal language," Mr. Harrison said, adjusting his glasses. "But something was wrong. I want to express my personal condolences. It looked like Grandma's. Catherine was more than a client to me. She was a dear friend. The new will were simple. The entire estate, all $40 million, every asset, left to Madeline Blackwood. Very sad." The blood drained from my face. Mr. Harrison blinked. I said, taken aback by her shaking. "Of Grandma course. Would never. The terms are quite straightforward." Madeline challenged. Catherine was very specific about her wishes. "Because I have a legally binding document right here." But Madeline cut in. The room fell silent. Actually, as everyone stared at us. I have something faces locked in a battle of wills. She produced a document. Mr. Harrison. The same one I'd seen the mystery man hand to the lawyer her earlier. Desperate. "You know this isn't right. You knew Grandma better than anyone." "I'm sorry, Emma," he said slowly. "But if this will is authenticated, my hands are tied." Madeline's smile was triumphant. "Well then, I believe that settles everything. As the sole heir, I'll need everyone to vacate the premises by tomorrow morning." "You can't do this," I whispered. She rose, gathering her things with practiced elegance. "I already have, dear sister." And you can't prove otherwise. As the family filed out in shocked silence, I stood rooted to the spot, staring at the painting of roses. Grandma Catherine had taught me to paint those roses herself, spending countless patient hours helping me get the shadows right. Now my twin sister had stolen everything, our grandmother's legacy, my inheritance, even my identity. Because that signature on the will wasn't Grandma's at all. It was mine. Being identical twins meant sharing DNA, fingerprints, and virtually indistinguishable signatures. My whole life, I'd been careful about signing documents precisely because I knew Madeline could mimic my handwriting perfectly. I never imagined she'd use my signature to forge our grandmother's will. The day after the reading, I watched from my old bedroom window as moving trucks arrived. Madeline wasted no time claiming her prize, directing workers to pack up our grandmother's antiques and artwork. "Miss Blackwood?" A quiet voice interrupted my thoughts. I turned to find Agnes, our grandmother's housekeeper of 20 years, standing in the doorway, her eyes red from crying. "I'm sorry, Agnes. I know Madeline's asked everyone to leave." "That's just it." She wrung her hands nervously. "There's something you need to see." She led me down to the kitchen, checking twice to be sure we weren't followed. From beneath her apron, she pulled out a small leather-bound notebook. "Your grandmother's diary," she whispered. "She asked me to keep it safe, said it was important you find it if anything happened to her." My hands trembled as I took it. "Why didn't you give this to Mr. Harrison?" "Because Miss Madeline was watching him like a hawk." "But that's not all." She glanced around again before continuing. "The accident, it wasn't random." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" "The day before, your grandmother was upset. She discovered something about Miss Madeline, something to do with her banking work. She made some calls. Said she needed to fix things." I opened the diary with shaking fingers. The last entry was dated the day before the crash. "Called Marcus about Anne's activities at Sterling Bank. The numbers don't add up. Offshore accounts, missing client funds. She's been stealing millions. I can't stay silent. Emma deserves to know the truth about her sister. Tomorrow I'll..." The entry ended there. Tomorrow never came. "There's more," Agnes said. The morning of the accident, I overheard Miss Madeline on the phone in the garden. She said something about taking care of it today and making it look accidental. The diary slipped from my fingers. "Are you saying?" "I'm saying be careful, Miss Emma. Your sister, she's not who you think she is." A sharp voice cut through the room. "Agnes, why aren't these boxes packed yet?" Madeline stood in the doorway, her eyes narrowing as she saw us together. Agnes quickly gathered some cleaning supplies and hurried out. "Still here, Emma?" Madeline's tone was honey-sweet poison. "I thought I made it clear the house needs to be emptied." I met her gaze steadily. "Did you kill her?" The question hung in the air. Madeline's smile never wavered. "What an awful thing to suggest," she said softly. "Grief makes people say terrible things." "She knew about Sterling Bank," I pressed. "About the missing money." Something flickered in Madeline's eyes, surprise, maybe fear, but it vanished instantly. "I don't know what you think you know," she said. "I suggest you leave now, before you say something you'll regret." "Or what? You'll arrange another accident?" She stepped closer, her face, my face, inches from mine. "In my car," she whispered. "I made 2 calls. Prove any of it." The first was to an old friend from art school who now worked as an authenticator for major auction houses. The will is forged. "Sarah, it's your word against you to look into something, sister dear. A painting of roses, $40 million worth of lawyers, artist unknown." She was right. Was to a private investigator I had no recommended by just a gallery entry, a housekeeper's account, I need everything you can find on Sterling Bank's offshore accounts. But I had something else. The truth about transactions authorized by Madeline Blackwood. "You forgot one thing. I called Mr. Harrison," I said quietly. "Meet me tomorrow," Grandma said when he answered. "Teach me about art. There's something you need to know about Grandma's real will. About the Blackwood legacy. Think revenge takes a long time. Boring stories about dead relatives strikes like lightning. Fast, bright, what's your point? And impossible to escape. My point is I know things you don't. It took exactly 3 days to unravel this everything Madeline about Grandma's real fortune. I met Mr. Harrison only at a small during those Sunday teas you were too busy to attend." His hands shook slightly as he read Grandma's expression. "My God, you're bluffing," he whispered. "Am I?" I knew something was wrong. I smiled, borrowing her own cold confidence. "I need your help," I said. "Guess you'll find out." The painting in the library. I walked out of the kitchen, ever mention anything feeling special her eyes about on my back. He looked at the front door. I paused. "She did, actually." "Oh, and Madeline? About a month ago, she had me painting of roses in the library. Said something about some art is worth more than money. The roses never fade." It was a shot in the dark. My heart raced. I saw fear flash across the painting. I always wondered about why Grandma insisted something she didn't want me to discover. Never cleaned by anyone but her. "Mr. Harrison, I need you to stall the estate transfer, just 24 hours. He nodded grimly. "I'll file some paperwork. Technical errors that need reviewing. But Emma, be careful. If what this diary suggests is true." "I know," I said quietly. "My sister is capable of murder." Back at my hotel, messages waited from both my contacts. Sarah, the art authenticator, confirmed my suspicions about the painting. The private investigator's findings on Sterling Bank were even more explosive. I took a deep breath and made one final call, to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. That night, I waited until 3 a.m. before returning to the estate. The security code hadn't been changed. Madeline always did underestimate me. The house stood dark and empty, save for the furniture she hadn't yet moved. In the library, moonlight spilled through the tall windows, illuminating the painting of roses. With trembling fingers, I felt along its heavy gilt frame. There, a slight catch, a hidden spring. The painting swung away from the wall like a door, revealing a small safe built into the wall behind it. I smiled, remembering all those Sunday afternoons when Grandma taught me to paint roses. She hadn't just been teaching art. She'd been showing me exactly where this safe was hidden. The combination was simple. My birthday, not Madeline's. She'd been born 2 minutes later. It was how Grandma had always told us apart, by remembering who came first. Inside lay a stack of documents, bank records, surveillance photos, a USB drive. And most importantly, another will. The real one, dated just 3 days before Grandma's death, with a letter attached. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I discovered what Madeline has been doing at Sterling Bank, the stolen money, the fake accounts, all of it. I've gathered proof, but she knows I know. I fear what she might do. I'm leaving everything to you because you're the only one who understands what truly matters. The money, the house, they're just things. But integrity, truth, justice, these are the real Blackwood legacy. All my love, Grandma Catherine. P.S. Give the USB drive to the FBI. They'll know what to do. At that moment, the lights flooded the library. Madeline stood in the doorway, her face twisted with rage. "How did you know?" she demanded. "Because I paid attention," I said calmly, despite my pounding heart. "All those Sunday teas you missed, all those family stories you brushed off, Grandma wasn't just sharing memories. She was leaving clues. Give me those papers." She smiled, stepping forward. "It's too late," I replied. "The FBI already has copies of everything. They're probably at Sterling Bank right now, seizing your offshore records." Her face went pale. "You're lying." "Am I?" "Check your phone." As if on cue, it buzzed. Her hands shook as she read the message. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." "Yes," I said quietly. "It's over, Madeline. The fraud, the fake will," and I held up Grandma's diary, the truth about her death. She lunged for me but never reached me. FBI agents emerged from the shadows where they'd been waiting all along. I watched as they led my sister away in handcuffs, her perfect composure finally shattered. The headlines came fast: banking heiress arrested for fraud and murder. Twin sisters' inheritance battle reveals sinister scheme. I smiled, touching the
Sterling
locket
Bank
I now
clients
wear,
left
the one
reeling.
Grandma always wore during
The
our
truth
Sunday
unfolded
teas.
quickly after that.
Inside is a tiny painted
Madeline
rose,
had been stealing
a reminder
from
that
clients
beauty
for
and
years,
truth go hand in
funneling
hand.
the money
into offshore accounts.
She knew,
I said softly.
when
Grandma discovered the
she knew
scheme,
the truth
Madeline
would come out
arranged the
eventually.
accident, never realizing
That's why she
Grandma
left
had
all those
already
clues,
documented
all
everything.
those
little breadcrumbs for me to
The
follow.
forged
will was her last
desperate
and Madeline
bid
to
he
seize
asked.
control of the evidence against her.
Do you ever visit her?
She never imagined
shook
the
my
real
head.
proof was hidden behind a
Some
simple
twins
painting
grow
of
apart.
roses.
Some
One
were
year
never
later,
truly
I
connected
stood in the
to begin
library
with.
again, restored to
She
its
chose
former
her
glory.
path, just as I chose
Madeline
mine.
was serving 20 years
Later
for
that
fraud
evening,
and murder.
I sat in Grandma's library.
The stolen money
my
had been
library
returned
now,
to
and
Sterling
opened
Bank's
her diary
clients,
to the last
and
page.
Grandma's true will had been
Below
carried
her
out
final
exactly
entry,
as she
I
intended.
added
my own. I kept the
Dear
house,
Grandma,
turning part of
justice
it
has been
into an
served.
art gallery for young artists.
The roses still bloom,
The
the
painting
truth
of
still
roses
shines,
still hangs
and
in
your
its
legacy
place of
lives
honor,
on,
not
not in
longer
money or
hiding
property,
secrets,
but in the
but
lessons
standing
you
as
taught
a
me.
reminder that sometimes
That art
justice can
blooms
reveal
in truth.
unexpected places.
That patience defeats
Agnes
greed.
still works as housekeeper.
That real
More
wealth
family
isn't
now
counted
than
in
employee.
dollars, but in integrity.
Mr. Harrison helps
Thank
manage
you for
the
showing
charitable
me the way.
foundation I built with half of
Love
my
always,
inheritance.
Emma.
Supporting arts education
Outside,
for
the sun
underprivileged
set
children.
over the
Berkshire Hills.
Your
Painting
grandmother
the
would
sky
be
in
proud.
shades of rose
He
and
told me
gold.
one afternoon.
Sometimes
Watching local
karma
kids
doesn't
take
strike
art
all at
lessons
once.
in what used to be the
Sometimes
formal
it
dining
blooms
room.
slowly and surely, like flowers in an eternal garden.